This is a very special mani because I created it to participate in the Ice Princess birthday collab hosted by CN Designer Dips and Eleni to celebrate her birthday in January. I absolutely love the palette of this collection, and it definitely does give me Ice Princess vibes, and I could not help myself with the glitter. So if you want to see how I create this look, stick around and we'll get into it. The Ice Princess bundle has 3 existing colors and 3 new colors created just for this bundle. So before I get into the mani, I want to show you the colors so you can take a look. All these colors are just so incredibly beautiful, and I had such a hard time choosing which ones I wanted to use, and I may have changed my mind a couple of times mid-mani. I'm going to be starting with Squishy, which is a baby blue, and I thought it was just a solid color, but it actually turns out it does have a bit of a pearl finish to it. So it's a little bit different than a solid, which I realized as I went to pour over this powder. And when I say different, I just mean it's a little bit more of a denser powder than a normal solid, and I'm assuming it's because of that pearl finish that it has. So I equate this consistency similar to like a heavy shimmer that CN Designer Dips does. It's certainly not difficult to work with, but I feel like you have to work with them a little bit differently just because of the consistency of the powder. So I should have stirred my powder to begin with, but the jars are so full I didn't want to do that, but it's always a best practice regardless of what you're using to stir your powders. So I try that instead when I apply Squishy to my index finger, is I gave it a good stir first now that I do have some of the powder dumped out of the jar so I don't spill everywhere. And that definitely did help the pour over a little bit better, but I readjust for my second layer for these 2 fingers because I just found it best to lay my finger flat into the powder rather than dipping or pouring over. I loved Squishy anyway, but it was a really nice surprise that it wasn't just a normal solid baby blue color. Like that pearl finish just gave it a little something extra that just made it so beautiful. And you can see on my skin after I brush off the excess powder that sheen that that pearl finish leaves. So that's just something really extra special. I'm now starting on my second layer of Squishy, and this is where I decide it'll be better to lay my finger flat into the powder rather than doing any other method, and here's why I say that. So because it is a denser, thicker powder, if I were to dip directly into the jar, likely it would displace that liquid, so I probably would get some wrinkling or buckling. It would probably move the liquids and cause that, which I can't stand when that happens. So I don't think it's a good idea to dip directly in using a powder that's thicker. And you may have noticed or not, I'm not sure how well it translated in the video, but when I tried to pour over, especially for my thumb in the first layer, it didn't really fall easily. The powders aren't clumpy at all, but it came out heavier, so it didn't really fall as well as like a normal solid would. So I just think you get better coverage and it comes out looking better if you just lay your finger flat into the powder rather than dipping or pouring over. So you can see here, after laying my finger flat into the powder for my second layer, the coverage is full coverage and just so beautiful. So I learned my lesson and I'm giving my next powder a good stir before I use it. So this is Mittens. I know it looks purple in the jar, but it's actually a thermal, so it's blue to purple, and it does have such a beautiful shimmer in it. Now, because it is a thermal, I do expect that thicker, denser consistency. And there's something about thermal powders that makes it that consistency. So I was expecting it for this one. I just wasn't expecting it for Squishy because I thought Squishy was just a normal solid dip powder color, which I guess I should have read the description before I used it, but that's beside the point. felt like I couldn't do an Ice Princess collab without using the glitter Ice Princess that was made for this bundle, so that's what I'm going to use next. Although I have to say, Tundra really caught my eye and I wanted to use that so badly. So I didn't swatch before I did this mani, and let me tell you, Ice Princess really took me by surprise. I mean, it is just so gorgeous, and wait till you see it again squishy. Well, I guess you probably did in my intro video. It's just so beautiful. Ice Princess is a beautiful blend of fine and chunky iridescent glitters, as well as it does have silver 4-point stars in it, so it's just a great mix of things. And I absolutely love iridescent glitters because I love the color shift that they do. So depending on what light is hitting it and depending on what color you pair it with, it could look different, so I love the shiftiness of it. Because this does have chunky glitters in it, I'm using my chunky glitter method for my middle finger. So for my first layer, I poured over the glitter because I want to pick up less of the chunkier pieces and more of the smaller, finer pieces. And then I decided I want to do an ombre, a vertical ombre on my index finger on top of squishy. So I went ahead and dumped the rest of my jar of Ice Princess into my Chaos Gemerald. And so for my dip base, because I don't want the glitter on my entire nail, I'm going to go a little past halfway for my nail, but I don't want to do my entire nail. I could, it doesn't matter, but I just went a little past halfway. And then I'm using this eyeshadow brush. This one is from Wet n Wild off of Amazon. And I'm just dipping my brush into the glitter and I'm tapping the glitter onto my nail. I'm concentrating the most along that sidewall and I'm just letting the glitters kind of fade and just be a little bit towards the center of my nail because I don't want a whole lot of glitter. I just want a nice bit of glitter more towards that not free edge, sidewall that's closest to my middle finger. For my second layer, before I start, I want to dust off the excess glitter from my first layer. I went ahead and gave my Chaos Gemerald a little bit of shake, and that's to bring more of the chunkier pieces to the surface because the chunky glitters tend to be a bit heavier and tend to sink, and I want to pick up more of those chunky glitters in my second layer, which is why I shook it. So now I'm concentrating on applying a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. And then once I have that base on my nail, I'm going to turn my hand upside down and lay my finger flat into the glitter. Laying it flat in will ensure that I pick up more of those chunky glitter pieces. And as you can see, I did pick up a lot of those chunky glitters, but they're mainly around my cuticle area and I wanted them a little more dispersed. I don't really like the look of them being concentrated in one area. So while my dip base is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and start knocking off some of those glitters. And then I will do a little bit of glitter placement afterwards to place them where I want them. And then of course add a couple more star glitters. And because I loved how Ice Princess looked against Squishy so much and I can't help myself, I decided I wanted to do a little glitter strip on my thumb at my cuticle area. So I just applied a thin strip of dip base starting at my cuticle area, and I'm going to start with just a little bit of glitter placement. So I'm just picking up some of those chunky glitters, and I don't want a lot of glitter on my nail. I just want a thin strip of it. So I'm just placing a couple of those chunky glitter pieces as well as some stars just kind of down my nail, and I'm trying to scatter them a little bit. I don't want them down in like a straight line, and I don't want to do too much, so it's just going to be a couple pieces. Just to fill it in a little bit with some of the finer glitter pieces, I take my eyeshadow brush and I pick up some of the glitters, and I just want a little bit to fill in some of that space. I don't want to go overboard and do like a complete ombre, so I'm just tapping a little bit of finer glitter in between those chunkier glitter pieces. I went ahead and capped everything in clear, activated and filed and buffed off camera. So here's how the mani's looking. So now we're going to get into my favorite part, which of course is dip top coat. So I'm going to apply my final layer of activator, wait a full 2 minutes, and then I will go in with my dip top coat. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles. So I'm using my Scales of Mermaid Cuticle Balm. This is in the scent Plum Perfect. I love the cuticle balms, but I especially love them for the colder weather. I feel like lately my skin has been extra dry just because of one, the colder weather, and two, I feel like I'm a little dehydrated. So I need to drink a little bit more water during the day to kind of rehydrate my skin, because obviously that can be a core reason for drier skin. So that pretty much wraps up the video, and I couldn't be happier with the way this mani turned out. If you haven't grabbed the Ice Princess bundle yet, I highly recommend it. And I'm pretty sure you can buy the colors separately, so even if you have some of the mainline existing colors, you can still buy the new glitters because they are just so beautiful. So a huge happy birthday to Eleni. I hope your birthday is great. And to you, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.